Cool. So let's go ahead and get started. Beginning, just a quick rehasher. We're going to put this up on YouTube. I'd appreciate it if we saved questions for the end, just so that the recording is kind of smooth transitioning from topic to topic, and there's not like a 5-minute section just of questions in between each. But if there are questions, we will get to them. All right. So welcome to the October mentor call. Once again, my name is Greg Bilodeau. I'm an alumni of the program, a current mentor and coach, and FRC program manager for First Wisconsin. So my job here is really to just be another resource for you guys, to help you out, make sure you're informed, and answer any questions I can do. So today we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to look at some of the upcoming grant deadlines, an update on the Wisconsin events, though I think all of you have seen them since almost all of you have registered for or done your first round of preferences, but we'll talk about them briefly regardless. Some upcoming deadlines around first in general, FRC stuff in general. We'll have an update from the student board. We'll have some guest speakers there. Some more updates to how the FRC season will go. Again, we had some last meeting, and there's been even more this time. All things that have been posted on the blog. So if you've been keeping up there, then this won't be anything surprising to you, but still want to rehash. I put a little slide on here, just some more like continuous learning opportunities, because I think it's important to keep up to date and see all of your resources that are out there. And then an opportunity at the end for questions and any team updates on what you guys have been working on, especially if you didn't get a chance to give an update last season or last month. I'm sure I will make Chris unmute and talk about Twist at the time, which is just over a week away, a week and a half away. So
We're all
let's
excited.
go ahead and dive right through. Let me open that. Perfect. Okay. So, some grant deadlines. The FRC, the First Wisconsin Veteran Team Grant deadline is today. So this has been out for a couple months now. There's a form. It was in the blog post. This links to, I believe, that blog post. But please fill that out. Basically, end of day today is when they're making all their decisions on how that's getting dispersed and sending it to the powers that be. So go and check out that form and fill it out this evening. The Wisconsin DPI grant, you've got about a little less than 2 weeks to go fill that out. For those that are not familiar, it's up to $6,000. Basically, everybody that applies, 99% of you get an even amount unless you apply for less than the 6,000. Get an even amount, and so however many of you there are, it splits that many ways. So it hasn't been the full amount, I don't think, ever. Last year, I think we were in the mid to upper 4,000s for each team. The PTC OnShape grant is still available for another 3-ish weeks. If you use PTC products, great one to apply for. Not everyone gets this one. So it is, so work on the answers to your questions, basically, like treat it like an actual grant application instead of just like the DPI where you might just fill in just the required information to go. And then West Coast Product sponsorship opened recently and closes next month. They also announced a catathon, I think, 2 days ago, where the top prize is being sponsored by West Coast as well. So look into that. I think that starts later this week as just like a fun training opportunity for your design team. And then there's a couple like donors choose project applications you can apply for, where you apply with like a specific project in mind. It could be like, I want to have team laptops for this or something like that. It needs to have a specific area it's going towards. And then other grants are, you can kind of search for them at that link there, firstinspires.org/robotics/team grants. I will say there's not a lot there, but I do think the John Deere one is up there, which a lot of us are near John Deere facilities that would qualify for that. So take a look if you aren't aware of it already. I'm not sure when that one closes specifically. All righty. Wisconsin events updates. So I know last time we weren't able to talk about the events yet because contracts had not been signed, but there are 3 events this year. Seven Rivers Regional has moved to week 4, still in the lacrosse center. The Wisconsin Regional has moved to week 6. So if you're historical here, they kind of swapped. Wisconsin is usually week 4. But Wisconsin moved to week 6 and is at the state fairgrounds this year. So the goal was to have a better team experience versus Panther, just because of there's been lots of complaints about things like parking and the food costs and etc. And so the planning committee there and First Wisconsin wanted to try to find a different venue. I recommend, I'm doing this with my team, bleacher seats, probably a good investment this year for your team. Brand them. Brand them with your team logo on them and sell them to your parents and make it a fundraising. But they're probably something, unless you really like sitting in bleachers, a thing. And because our third event here is the Phantom Lakes Regional, week 5 at McGuanago High School. So it is a 2.5-day regional. So we talked about this a little bit last month, but this is going to be run more like a district event. So you will load in Thursday late afternoon. I don't have the exact schedule, and I don't think there is an exact schedule yet, but most districts you load in around 3 or 4 p.m. And then right after load in, you get a handful of hours to get inspected and do some practice matches. Those days, usually that Thursday will usually run later than you're used to. Usually Thursdays end around 8. This one will probably end later, 8 or 9. Again, I don't have the schedule. Nothing's been set in stone, but this is just based on what I've seen at other district events. And then Friday, mid-morning, you start your qualification matches, usually around 10 or 11 a.m. So it actually starts a little bit later in the morning to give room for some additional practice matches and additional inspection time in case you didn't get there Thursday evening. And then Saturday runs like normal. So if some of the benefits here is one less day in a hotel because you don't have to travel Wednesday. You can travel up Thursday afternoon. This is the mentor call, but for mentors, this may be an opportunity to take one less day off of work, or maybe just a half day because it starts in the afternoon. So you don't need to take the full Thursday off of work, which is nice as well. But it will have a reduced team capacity, 42 teams. Like all district events, this one, the schedule is built to have 12 matches. We try to get that at every single Wisconsin event each year, but that's why it's reduced here to 42, because that's how many you can fit to get 12 matches in that 2.5-day schedule. There's additional information on that blog, on the First Wisconsin blog, and then refer to the first blog post about the 2.5-day pilot regionals. Cool. All right, so upcoming deadlines. So like I alluded to before, round 1 of event preferencing opened last week and ends tomorrow. Most of you have gone through and done your preferencing, which is wonderful. If you haven't, I encourage you to do that now. You have until, I think it's 11 a.m. tomorrow morning to go in and do your first round preferencing. Then there's about, it's a 2-week delay between round 1 and round 2. During that time, if you didn't register for an event round 1, then during that 2 weeks is when you get to go in and register for your event after everybody else already kind of went through the lottery system. And so that goes for a week at the end of the month. On October 31st, a lot of things happen. So we just talked about there's 3 Wisconsin events this year. It means we need a lot of volunteers, and there's a lot of volunteering opportunities. If you've ever wanted to inspect, but your team has always been attending an event and you don't want to inspect at the same event your team is at, well, there's now probably an event in Wisconsin that you probably aren't going to. Unless you're going to all 3, there's probably one there that is maybe local to you that you can go to without having to get a hotel or anything. Inspecting, judging, reffing, all of the above. Score behind the table. There will be opportunities. That opens on Halloween. So go in there and sign up. I really encourage you guys. As we add more events, as we get up to 3, that means we need more volunteers. And I'd rather not have the same group of people at every single event. I would like to have a rotating crew of wonderful volunteers that we can pull from. Other things on Halloween, unrestricted event. registration opens. So after you get your first 2 events on Halloween, then you can just go in and it's first come, first serve for events. You can sign up or waitlist for a single event every single week, every single competition week at that point. And then award submissions open. So Dean's, Woody, and I didn't put it on there, but Impact, I believe, opens as well. Some more upcoming events. So this year, Jane announced in the Mentor Slack last week, FRC Training Day is at WCTC on November 9th. They need speakers. Please reach out to Jane, either through Slack or through email, if you would like to speak as soon as possible, so that we can get that schedule out there. And then a few days later, November 12th, the first payment is due. So your registration, so your $6,000 for event registration and your kit of parts is due November 12th. You can pay that right now. There's some teams that have had it paid for months. Kudos to those. But you've got a little over a month to take care of that. There are obviously more things after that, but we'll have a meeting between now and then to talk about them. Okay, so at this point, we have a student board update from Nidhi and Noah. And let me make sure that you guys are able to unmute. If you are, go ahead and say hi.
Hi, I'm Nidhi. Noah was not able to make it today. Can you hear me? Okay. Perfect. Okay. Hi, I'm Nidhi. I am the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Chair for the First Student Board. So a couple of things that we were just going to go over, some of the things that the Student Board does. So to start off with, one of our biggest projects is the Production Hub, which is a system for teams to help provide parts for other teams that are maybe unable to manufacture them themselves. So there's more information about this on the FIRST website, and there should be a form or something like that on the website that teams can fill out if you are interested in either contributing to the hub or if you would be interested in helping, or if you'd be interested in getting some other parts from them. So that is a really cool opportunity. Next, we have My Maps, which is something new. It is a Google Maps that shows the locations of some of the different FRC teams throughout Wisconsin. I believe it has all of them. It also has FTC teams, if that's something that you're interested in seeing. And this can also be found on the FIRST website. And this is helpful for creating new teams, finding locations of teams near you and places that we could maybe spread FIRST even further. Along with that, we also have a spreadsheet of team contact information. If you would like to collaborate with other teams or reach out to anyone, that can also be found. And those are some of our spreading FIRST initiatives. Then we also have YouTube and social media where we post videos about advocacy and other FIRST Wisconsin updates. We create blog posts, and we also just released an episode of our podcast, which can be found on Spotify. Our first podcast was about the student board, but we hope to expand it to cover some more topics. And I think that's kind of it. That was pretty short, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Awesome. Thank you, Nidhi. Yes, that's wonderful. I've been waiting for your podcast. I've been hearing that it's going to happen, and it's great I'll have to go check that out. All right. Let's keep rolling here. So changes in 2025. Last month we talked about the pilot regional, and I feel like there was one other thing that was big, but I'm forgetting because there's so many things this year. So announced recently were 3 additional things. There was the regional advancement update was announced last week, I think Thursday. And it's a big document with big implications, etc. I suggest you go find it on the first blog or click that link and dig into it. But essentially, a universal points model is coming to the regional system in 2025 and 2026. It's a two-phase launch where they're going to ease us into this new system. For what you guys need to know about 2025 is that each regional is still advancing the same 4 awards as last year. So the Impact Award, the Engineering Inspiration Award, the winner captain, and the winner first pick qualify for champs automatically. The biggest change for this year is that there are no more wildcards, and essentially wildcard slots go back to the pool automatically. And then every 2 weeks, HQ will fill up 1/3 of champs with the remaining spots for 1/3 of champs by pulling from the top point earners across the regional system. So just like the priority waitlist in the past, once you go into that pool, you're competing against teams across the program. Florida, I always use Florida as an example, California, all of that, based on your points. Perfect. I think that's a link to just what I wanted. Yep. So in there is how you get points. It's not based on the points you earn in the middle of a match. It's based on a more macro level. So it doesn't matter if you scored 3 million points in a match and won, or scored 3 points and won. You get the same kind of macro level points across the board. So it keeps a level-ish playing field. So it's not like you're competing against those California teams and their crazy scores. But for 2025, that is only for the wildcards. I put a link in here because in 2026 it changes again. There's a really neat Delphi thread that's spun up where somebody ran a simulation on last year's events to see who would qualify based on the 2026 criteria. So if you're interested to see if your team would have or would not have qualified, I recommend going through there and checking that out. It's a big change with a big document. Take some time to read through it. It's not too bad. The next fun thing, pre-orders for 2025 game pieces. So if you remember last year, Andy Mark sold out of notes in like half an hour after kickoff. I think by lunch they were gone, and they were gone for like 3 or 4 weeks. To try to not do that this year, they are taking pre-orders for notes before they do their manufacturing order. There will be 2 game pieces in 2025. All of this information is in the blog post, so I'm not giving any secrets. I don't know any secrets. I know what's in this blog post. There will be 2 game pieces in 2025. One of them will not be up for pre-order, and it is supposedly readily available in stores. So you should be able to go to, I don't know, Walmart or a hardware store or whatever, maybe the swimming pool store, and get this game piece without any trouble. Game piece 2 is specific to first, and this is the one you can pre-order. As long as you order by November 1st, you should receive those pieces shortly after kickoff, is what the blog post says. It's got details in there about how many are on the field. It's got details about how many you can hold at a time, how many you can touch during auto, all the things that usually inform you about how many you should buy outside of how fragile they are, like the notes ended up being. Unfortunately, they're not going to tell us that much. If I had to guess, I would say game piece 2 is probably another foam piece, but that's entirely a guess based on that blog post wording. That's it. So I highly recommend you guys get some. There will be, I didn't put it on here, I think they're saying they're providing 2 of each in the kit of parts. Whether or not you opted out, every team is getting 2 of each. So there's that. And they seem decently priced compared to previous seasons. I think it's the same dollar amount as like a note was, but you don't need 40 of them. You need, like, I think it said 20 for a full field, 18 for a full field.
18 for a full field, and I think it was like during auto you have access to 9 of them, I believe is what it said. Greg, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So overall, it's a lot less of an ask to furnish your practice space than it was last year, especially. And then the final thing was announced pretty quickly after our last meeting, actually. The Alliance selection update, so they're changing how Alliance selection works. If you attended IRI or MROC or Leviathans over in Eau Claire, it's very similar to that with just like basically they're adding time limits. If you are attending Twist in a couple weekends, they'll be doing it there as well. But essentially, you get 3 team members on the field instead of just the one. Up to 1 can be an adult as long as you have 2 students out there as well. So you can't have 1 student, 1 adult. It has to be either 3 students, 2 students, 2 students, an adult, or the normal kind of system here. There's a whole double mic setup to try to make it run faster, etc., etc. Check it out on the link or at Twist. Yeah. So I think those, as far as I can guess, those are probably the end of like the big changes they're making for this year because they've made quite a few. So you can rest easy now and just like count all 6 of them and prepare yourself and your scouting team and your build team and everything for that. Okay. The final bit here I've got, just like last time, I talked a little bit about the mentor conferences that take place in various places. I wanted to highlight another. This one's not a mentor conference. This is just a general conference that took place this weekend, the 2056 Ways to Inspire conference. I've been watching some of their videos over the last couple days that I've been really enjoying. It's a team up in Canada, so all of the presentations are, pretty sure all of them are done by Canadian teams. So as long as you speak Canadian, I'm just kidding, you'll be good. I highlighted one there. Tyler Holtzman from 2056 gave one about how to improve your on-field performance. He does this one every year that I really enjoy, and gives insight into how they schedule their season and everything, which is always very interesting to me because every single team lays out their first few weeks differently. And then along that theme, there are 2, I talked about the one already, there are 2 local events coming up like this. There's the FRC training day at WCTC on November 9th that I really encourage you guys to attend and especially present. Reach out to Jane there. And then there's a similar event over at in the La Crosse area, the Seven Rivers Robotics Coalition training day. I put potentially December 7th. I don't think it's been announced yet. It says they are typically the first Saturday of December each year, which happens to be December 7th this year. So there's a link there. It still has information about the 2023 training day, so don't take it as fact, but you can look at what was presented last year and get an idea as well. I encourage you guys to attend either of these events. The networking, the learning opportunities. I personally have learned a lot from the community, and that's part of why I try to give back as well, is because every team operates a little bit differently, has different ideas about how they do things. And one of the best parts about having a community is learning from it. So check those out in the next couple of months. Okay. My last slide here is just kind of a blank slide. Before we get into that, I told you guys I'd give time for questions for any of the above at the end here. And so here is, oh, perfect. Jansen's got some more information for us about the 7RRC training day at Western Technical College this year. So keep an eye there. Wonderful. Thank you, Jansen. So yeah, at this point, if there's any questions you guys have about the events or the changes for FRC, I'll do my best to answer them. And we have plenty of knowledgeable people here in the chat that will do it too. Renee has a question and or a thing she wants to share.
I do, thank you. And so I just wanted to point out really quick that we do have another satellite kickoff event coming online this season. And so teams that previously in the Eau Claire area that had to go to Minneapolis to pick up your kits, there will be a kickoff event hosted at Chippewa Falls Middle School. And so I just wanted to make sure that our teams were aware of that change and those options. And I can't currently share my screen, so I'm going to put it into the chat. And it's a terrible link, but it should get you to the spot that you need if you want to take a look at that. So if you're in the Eau Claire area, there's a satellite kickoff opportunity. And special thanks to our Chippewa Falls team for hosting that kickoff event and helping us make that possible. And also, thank you to our Onalaska kickoff location for helping us coordinate that. That's it. Well, and maybe the engagement committee, but I'll come back around. So, never mind. First, Wisconsin. One of the things we want to do is do a better job at communicating and sharing updates with our teams. And so something really cool that Minnesota has been doing for a long time now has been these hub meetings or these coalition meetings where groups of teams come together and they either have social activities or touch base on a quarterly basis in order to see how they're doing. And so you can kind of see that already existing with like the Seven Rivers Coalition, the Lakeshore Coalition, the Sheboygan Coalition, etc. But we'd like to identify contacts in each of those various areas and bring them together on an engagement committee that we're able to meet with and communicate with important updates, grant opportunities in areas, even like fun community events where it's like you could use one of our tablecloths and a bunch of handouts, and we could like send that over to you, leveraging these engagement committee members. And so we are looking for, I define them as social butterflies, people who maybe aren't necessarily like the super in the weeds involved with your team lead mentors, but more of the again, social butterflies, like people who are well situated to want to give someone a phone call or send them a quick text message and just check in and see how they're doing. And so you guys can kind of come together and figure out the different groupings and areas, but if you don't tell me after kickoff, I'm going to pre-group you, and you'll just have to deal with it for the rest of the season until, if you'd like to create your own sort of thing, we can go from there. So right now, and as Tim jokes, Western Wisconsin, the Blaze Orange Coalition, my grandpa was a duck hunter, so I absolutely understand. And so I do have two contacts from that area. Austin Lee, who will be joining our call in November if he's not here today. And then we also have our good friend Ryan, who's with the Chippewa Falls group, who will be leading up some of the initiatives in the Eau Claire area. And so again, if you are a social butterfly of a specific area and you have been deemed the individual that can kind of represent a number of teams and is social enough to communicate with those groups of individuals throughout the season, excellent. Please reach out so we're able to get that together. And we'll work on cool names later on, because I don't, if Eau Claire's taking the Blaze Orange Coalition, we might need to work on these names. I think we should have a Fresh Coast Coalition, those types of things.
Awesome. Okay, good deal. Question time. Anyone have questions? You can throw them in chat. I think technically there's a Q&A feature that we haven't used here, or you can just unmute and ask.
I'm going for
I
the
have a slightly
unmuting.
Go ahead, Rena.
Sorry.
Okay.
We'll get you next, Colin.
I was just wondering if anyone has received funds into FIRST from Rockwell Automation approved grants. We have our email saying, yeah, you're getting a grant from us. Usually the money goes in kaboom right afterwards. We've not seen the money go in, and with November 12th coming up soon, we're just curious.
FTC grants just hit yesterday. So I would say you should see them in the next, by the end of this week. And if you don't, give me a call on Monday and we'll find out what's going on.
Perfect. Thank you. because my sponsor's a
Yeah.
night shifter, so he never knows anything.
It was slower this year than it was last year, but we did get our funds for 1732.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Colin.
Apologies if you hear any road noise. I'm driving right now. But I kind of have a different question. We've never gone to 2 regionals before on our team, and we have a quite smaller team, I would say, in comparison to most teams. And for our less dedicated students, many of them seem to be unwilling to going to 2 regionals. Even if we are very lucky that the 2 regionals kind of lands in a nice area for the school calendar where they're not missing many school days. I think they're only missing 1 between both regionals. Does any other teams have like issues with students wanting to go to regionals? And if they do, how do you get around that? Because my fear is that if we miss even a few students, that it may make us incapable of like competing due to the drive team and pit team that's required.
Mm-hmm. I'll let anyone jump in first if anyone's got comments. See, Laura from Whitewater says we have a few students who don't want to miss school, so only go to 1. That's typically how we see it too. A lot of kids prefer or don't like to miss school, especially that close to once we approach AP exams, they get a little wary. Mhm.
I know some cases they have teams that they bring in a kind of a smaller crew for like practice day and setup and all that, and then the rest of the team comes for like the competitions later. So most of the students miss less school. Is the other way that I've seen some teams handle this. I think Wisconsin this year is going to also be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. So that is an opportunity where if there is a concern about missing school, that that event shouldn't have as much impact on school day as it's going to be mostly on Friday or Saturday, Sunday for the competition.
I did forget to mention that. Thank you, Chris. My vacation days are super excited for this year. But yeah, I think
Mark Holshoe from 2194 Fondy Fire. In a pinch, you could potentially borrow a student from another team. I believe that there was one competition once where Miss Emma Schuff wore a Fondy Fire shirt for a day.
It was the best competition of my life. 93 never let me be on the drive team, so that was my one and only chance. So thank you, Mark.
You were awesome you were awesome that day, by the way.
For 1732, we never take the whole team for the first day. We take a very small advanced team. So it's the van and the robot, basically. And the rest of the team doesn't leave till after school the next day. So that really helps cut down on the days out of school.
Well, thank you, everyone. Unfortunately for us, due to like pit inspection being on the same day as load-in for the Phantom Lakes, it's kind of a challenge for us because that's the load-in team is like the majority of our students, anyways. So, but thank you.
I guess, Colin, how many students do you guys have? I guess that's probably an easier one to get from, like, to help figure this one out.
So I would say on like if we have every student there, we have about 13 students. The problem is that we have like a core group of students, which is really like 6 or 7. So the core group is what I worry about because they're the ones that are stepping up to do the more involved tasks of like being in the pit or want to be on the drive team.
How many students
all
do you
right.
have in your-
Can I get Renee, can you take over for me here for a bit? I've just got a
Yeah.
Upset girly.
Yeah, no problem. All right.
So if you guys want, I can give an update on just Twist and where things are at.
That would be
So
lovely.
we sent the last team update out yesterday evening for the event here. So right now the plan right now is to be able to have practice matches available at 6 to 8 o'clock on Friday evening. So if you guys do want to come get some time on the field, we absolutely have we're targeting to have the field up by 6. Honestly, based on the build times, everything else like that, and the number of volunteers I got, we'll probably have it up by then, probably even earlier, hopefully. But we will have that option available. The plan is to give every team, I think right now the target is 5 matches. We have 28 teams with actually I think 30. There's going to be 31 teams coming, but 28 robots, all individual. We're also going to have charity matches going on for what we're calling unicorn matches. So basically, we're asking teams to donate Lego sets for Children's Hospital, and basically we'll have a drawing of the teams that donate, and basically the number they donate, it's the number of chances they get in the drawing. And then with the teams that get drawn, their mentors will get into a unicorn costume and play a human player match on the field. So we're looking for that to be, we have these 6 big blow up unicorn costumes. It's going to be a lot of fun. What else? We got FLL. There's going to be an FLL scrimmage going on. We also have 6 FTC teams demoing. And we also have a student opportunity fair. So we've got about, I think, 7 colleges, some other scholarships, the National Guard, a few other people that'll be there as well. They're wanting to talk to students and giving some information. So, we've got the usuals like MSOE and, Ripon and some of the other ones, but then we've got like Wisconsin's, Madison's going to be there as well. So, good opportunities for a lot of students. We're really excited to have everybody come out, and it'll be a fun time. So,
Wow, that sounds super exciting.
yeah.
As somebody that works at Children's, we will so appreciate those Legos. Kids go through them, I'm sure you all can imagine, but very, 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 very fast. Can I perhaps go back to Colin, because I did have a follow-up question for him.
Absolutely.
I don't know if this was shared, but are the students not wanting to go to a second event because of missing school, or is it financial reasons, or another unidentified third reason that we aren't aware of that we could kind of like help brainstorm?
So the only reason that the students have provided, because we try to make it so that it's basically free for them. The only reason that I've heard is that it's due to other clubs' activities. And I understand that, at least from my perspective, that's kind of a interesting response, because this is like our competition versus just a normal club meeting. But that was the comment the students made about being unable to go to the second competition.
Something you can do. I mean, I want to venture, unless you absolutely have to use this reason. I know my school, I brought it up to the students because they also, I think we had this happen a couple of years ago as well. And I found actually in our school's handbook is technically for clubs, especially for like competition style clubs, is your competition had precedence over other like just regular meetings. And this even applied across sports and stuff too. So if we had kids in sports, if they were missing a practice, we still had precedence over it. And then I think the rule in that was that they cannot, if they miss the competition, then they weren't allowed to attend any club activities. Obviously, I wouldn't want to push it like that, because then that might just get kids not to want to be on the team. But that is something I did see and kind of brought up to the students, I guess, early on, to kind of not force their hand a little bit, but kind of make them aware that kind of the gravity of it all. Because I know some students don't get the, especially the less involved students don't quite get the idea that this is more like a sport than just a regular club. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Unfortunately for our school, like because we're not a sport technically, and we've tried 1,000 times, it's not going to happen unless some governing body says otherwise. But because we're not a sport, the school doesn't really give us anything. So that goes as far as like storage space. We don't get anything.
Yep. Yeah, I guess that was more just like I didn't even look for it. Like I was looking for something else just to see with like, just the student handbook in general. It's like, I guess that's where it's lined up because I guess for South Milwaukee specifically, it's like kind of the levels they have. They call it sports and then they call it group A activities, which are like competing or like performance. So even like theater and stuff applies to that as well. And then the non-competing ones. So I could see if something like, with we had that issue last year with some students not able to attend because of being at theater and stuff, and the performance at the same time. I would look into that, just look at the student handbook and see if they have any rules against, or rules kind of to help support you there, that the students might not be aware of, because I doubt any students really look at the student handbook.
Cool.
Okay, well, I'll take a look.
Colin, my other question is, how many students do you typically recruit on your team?
Like you're saying that we accrue per year?
Yeah.
So it's varied a lot. So like our biggest hurt right now is that half the team was seniors that graduated last year. So it definitely varies, but the biggest issue we've had is like in the off season, keeping students engaged and involved, because in the off season, we've had maybe 10 to 15 more students join, doubling the team count, but keeping them interested and involved before we have a lot to do during the build season. And we do have like other robotics projects we try to do during the off season, but like getting sponsors and kind of the more business keeping things are not as interesting for many of the students that would like to join.
Okay. Are you able to recruit students from the different high schools in the area, as long as it's all part of the Racine United School District?
So from my understanding, the way the Racine School District works is that we can recruit any student as long as they're a high school student within the Racine County. So that includes private schools and homeschoolers. The only exception to that rule is Walden Robotics also has their own team. So the students who go to Walden 3 High School, they cannot join our team as they have their own school.
Gotcha. Okay. I think it would be helpful if we set up a phone call and we just talked about potential recruitment opportunities, but then also like, how do you build camaraderie between the students so that like eventually all of their friends are at robotics and therefore they're going to go to robotics and they want to do well, and you kind of like help that trend line move forward. I know a lot of teams have been, struggling to get students in, and as this like group of seniors who, kind of came after COVID or, around that time frame, graduate, I know that it's been hard, like kind of getting over that bump. And so you're probably in this awkward transition point between those two. So that's kind of what it sounds like to me is happening. But let's chat more. We can do some brainstorming.
Okay, thank you.
To his point of keeping them occupied off season, we outlawed that phrase. There is no off season in first. We call it development season from the time we finish competition until the time we start building. That's development season. That is first awareness. That is for our outreach. I mean, we have one thing we do every month all year round at the public library. We help them with their Lego engineering challenge. We took it over, and instead of just Lego Day, it's now Lego engineering challenge. Yesterday, we flipped little baby pumpkins with our Lego catapults. Go check out our Facebook. It's pretty cool. The point being that there is something going on all year round to keep them occupied and involved in the FIRST ethos. And if you're interested in more of that, we can communicate offline too. But development season skills were bought this year. We bought little robots, $50 to $100 each, and they're breaking into teams and they're building those robots and programming them. So we have more presentation things, more things for the youth and the outreach programs to do. So it's not about just the one robot. It's about FIRST and recognizing it in the community during development season. So we don't have an off season, because I grimace at anybody that says it.
Yeah, I think what Rena and Renee alluded to a little bit is it's not a quick switch solution, but a big part of this is your culture of your team and how you build that up. Emphasizing, with our kids, we don't require more than one competition. We say we would like you to go to at least one, but we emphasize that all of the work that they're doing, which is not easy work, nothing about the build season is easy, is leading up to that competition. And that's part of that culture building, that like you're working hard for this moment. And we would like you to at least be a part of one of those regional moments.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I guess my only challenge to that, which I know is kind of more of a team thing, is that we really only have like a 3 mentor average per meeting. So scheduling like other activities, or just, getting the students to do certain things, especially in the off season. And I understand I shouldn't call it the off season, but as we do meet year round, it is challenging to do a lot more activities, just for the lack of mentorship that we do have.
I started by begging parents, just come watch.
I understand. We've tried a lot, and unfortunately for our students, because we are a Title I school, many of the parents are either working during our meeting times, as we meet immediately after school, or they just, physically are unable to be at the school because they can't afford a ride or something like that. So it's a challenge for us.
Renee and I will reach out. We'll set up a call and we can chat it out. And this open invitation to anybody, if you want to carve out some time with Renee or myself. Totally happy and excited to do that.
I haven't mentored for a few years. I'm rusty. All right. So one of the other things I wanted to mention is, in addition to the lovely engagement committee that we're looking at kicking off here in the next year, we are also reviving the First Wisconsin Alumni Leadership Team with a little bit of help from Bill Nye the Science Guy. Not actually, because he won't be at the meeting, but we're looking for a group of dedicated First alumni who feel like they have about 3 to 5 hours a month to help with planning quarterly First alumni get-togethers and also participating in strategic discussions with First Wisconsin. And so this is related to, like, hey, as a young professional, what sort of opportunities would you be interested in having being available for you as you move forward, right? One of the things we want to do is, as we're working with these students and getting them into their, next stages of life, we want to make sure that we're also doing what we can to retain that talent in the state and, you know, have them work for these companies and then also come back as mentors and volunteers. This is actually just a long con for us to have sustainable volunteerism. But anyway, I just wanted to highlight the fact that we're getting these first alumni together to figure out and talk about these strategic processes. On Sunday, October 6th, between 3 to 5, we'll be having a planning meeting to do some strategic planning. There'll be a break for food, and then we'll be able to go to the Bill Nye Live at Riverside Theater for $50. Which is normally like a $97 ticket, which is pretty cool. And so we were able to work with the theater to receive, you know, kind of like a bulk order discount and nonprofit pricing. And so if you're looking to, you know, brainstorm and engage with other First alumni, or if you know of First alumni that are in the area and maybe available that day and you think that they could be really good for this opportunity, please pass this along. I have 20 spots available, and I want to make sure that these tickets are used because I am very excited to see Bill Nye the Science Guy. But this is where you can find the form and the different pieces of information. I'm going to stop sharing. All right. And I'm also going to throw this link into the chat. There we go. Okay, Greg, anything else?
Nothing specific. At this point, like I said, any questions or if anybody has any updates they want to share about their team's activities or questions, kind of like Chris was doing, we'd love to hear more. Yeah, opportunity for you guys to chat with the community here for a bit.
Yep. Laura, why don't you share what you're submitting for the conference thing? What is the name of the conference?
The WTEA?
Yes.
Yeah, so Tim and Renee and I are working on doing a presentation to the Wisconsin Tech Ed Teachers Association. That will be next, I believe, March. So hope we don't get into a week 2 event. So part of what Renee threw in the chat a little bit ago was the blurb, or a portion of the blurb that we submitted. So we've got some pretty cool ideas. Renee's got Tim and I holding up little placards with the standards as we have our students share what they've learned and what they do as part of FIRST Robotics. So it should be pretty cool.
I'm imagining like figure skating judges, like, oh yeah, oh, they're talking about time management. That's this standard.
I don't know if Tim knew this yet, so.
I don't know if Tim knew this either. I included, I'm pretty sure the introduction was, oh, presentation outline. Hi, we're the educators, but it's boring to hear us talk. And so we're going to have our students talk. And we'll just hold up little things that indicate where in the standards this references. So I think that's the thing that is hard to get across to administration. And I typically go to like Tim and Laura to help me translate how that works. And so the fact that FIRST Robotics aligns with so many career readiness standards makes us a very desirable program for students to have access to. And the reason FIRST works is because it does so many of the specific things that students need in order to be interested in STEM careers. And so like there's a reason that 84% of students in this program have this opportunity, engage with mentors, have these amazing technical experiences, but also have hands-on learning opportunities, have the opportunity to be in a, have a tight timeline and need to solve a problem. All of those different elements coming together, those are the things that you want to see in these STEM and tech individuals. We all know that, but translating it to administrator speak is where I go to Tim and Laura. So Tim, Laura, if you have any other suggestions on this topic, let them know. Oh yeah, social emotional learning.
wanted to touch it. Like that, the SEL stuff is that I love that we include that in the FCC training, especially.
Well, and what did you say about the SEL stuff? It's like, yes, the phrase SEL has like come out, but we've been talking about gracious professionalism since the very beginning of FIRST.
Yeah, we've been doing SEL before SEL was a thing.
Yes. Okay. There we go. Excellent. Cool. Ryder, have you submitted the grant application?
No, I actually just sent an email to, well, me and Tiffany had a meeting today. She's gonna go ahead and fill it out just because I
Okay.
think Stout has to approve all the grants that we send out. So I just figured it'd be easier for her to do it.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's see. Who else is around here? Everyone, it looks good. Tim, are you headed to the Make 48 event this weekend?
Well, Renee, you have to specify which Tim. Yes, I
Oh,
will be
sorry.
there. Will you be gracing us with your presence again?
Unfortunately, I can't make it this year. My husband's actually going up to Minnesota for a battle bots tournament. And so my daughter and I are going apple picking because I found we like making apple cider.
Yeah, I think Terry and I are going to go. You know, what the heck? We're not officially involved, but basically our team provides the students for this sort of thing.
Awesome. Very exciting. Cool. Terry, I have on my radar that I need to get you connected with the Seven Rivers Regional Planning Committee. So it's on my radar. It has not happened yet.
Oh, I have a question. I have never been to State Fair. Is there Wi-Fi? Like, you know, Seven Rivers Regional Wi-Fi is limited. Is there Wi-Fi? Does anybody know?
I don't know. Great question.
Hey, Chris.
I don't know. But since
Or-
I'm the RPC chair for the Wisconsin Regional, I will have that answer next month. How about that?
Okay. And cell signal. So
I think cell
It
signal
should
will
have
probably be a
cell.
little better.
okay.
So we're basically going to be in the expo center if anybody's been there. We are only in the A hall. We're not using the whole state fair venue, and we are going to have so much room. like
Sorry?
we 573 is bringing their whole field from Sussex, so we will have a full size practice field. We will have plenty of room for pits. We are, you know, literally like the Air Force. If anybody went to Duluth and they saw the big Air Force setup and all that, we have space to be able to do that.
I'm
Load in
working
is
on it.
going to be so much easier because you're just going to be able to back up the doors and bring your stuff in. Parking is going to be easier, not to worry about the Ariana Grande or the Bucks or whoever else, or Olivia Rodrigo, I think was the last there, but it's just going to be from a logistics and a setup standpoint, it's going to be nice. But again, we do have to bring in bleachers, which is some additional cost. So the setup's going to be a little bit different there for the field, but in general, the pit layout and the amount of space we're going to have available is going to be, we think it's going to be very good, you know, longer term potentially. So, but this is the first time to try it out.
Excellent.
I'm excited to not drive downtown because I'm one of the ones that has to drive. I'm excited.
Yep, big old parking lot there that will have no problem. We are looking at the hotels. There is a for people that are looking for hotels there at the Wisconsin State Fair. There is a hotel on the State Fair grounds. It's kind of more dormitory style. That is relatively cheap. It's like bunk beds and like there's 6 to a room. There might be an opportunity to, we're checking out on that to see if we can basically be able to have some lower cost hotel options there that are right on the state fair grounds as well for people that are traveling.
All right. So I see Eric Lee's on the call. Eric, how is the Milwaukee Robotics Academy teams doing? Oh, how are?
We are doing great. We added a new rookie-ish team this year. Our stretch goal is we're going to build 10 robots. And
Wow.
yeah, so we'll see how that goes.
What kind of drivetrains?
Oh, they are all going to be swerve.
Oh, okay. Keep going.
Yeah, yep. So we decided that our new teams were at a pretty big disadvantage going with the kit chassis. So really what we're going to do is we're going to try to, and our fall program, we're going through and doing builds and getting everybody ready for swerve. You know, some of our teams were doing swerve, but yeah, we're going to build all swerve drive, and then we're going to base it off we're going to modify the kitbot as our starting point for our swerve chassis, and then iterate from there.
Gotcha.
Lots of activity.
All right. So, and then quick question. I had a meeting with a mutual partner of ours, and I was just wondering, do you have students that come over from St. Augustine Prep, Milwaukee Academy of Science, or Kingdom Prep Lutheran High School?
Yes.
All three?
All three of them.
Cool.
Less from St. Aug this last year. We had a ton 2 years ago. Kingdom Prep just said they wanted to send 15 for our fall program. So
good. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. I know that let's see, Aug Prep was doing an FTC team. So
yeah.
That was, I think they had started one last season but didn't compete. So I wasn't sure because I felt like it's a great opportunity to get things on campus, but then getting kids connected to MRA is really helpful too.
Yep. And so I think we will continue. Like I said, our main contact there left, and as we all know how important a good contact at a school is.
Absolutely. If you need another contact, let me know. I can get you connected.
Yeah, if you do, yeah.
Cool. Awesome. What about Dr. Howard Fuller Collegiate Academy?
So we actually just had some contact with them. Emily's been talking to them. So, and we're also talking with the Boys and Girls Club. So
good.
That obviously could be a really good thing.
Awesome. Very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for answering all of my questions, since this chatty bunch of individuals aren't being very chatty right now. So at this point, Greg, unless you have anything else, I think we can have everyone, move along, and then we'll be back again in November. Touch base with us about, any concerns that you have. Grant information, we'll be turning that around pretty quickly here when the grant deadlines close. And don't forget to submit your Department of Public Instruction Robotics Participation League. I don't know if we could make that grant name any longer, submission on October 14th. And yes. Hi, Gwen.
I'm trying. I know she wants me to put something on the table. I'm not sure what it is, but yes, thank you guys, everyone, for chiming in. That's the wrong thing. I hope you guys get the events you want to get, and we'll talk to you guys in November.